Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participates in Krishna Garu Ek Naam Akhand Kirtan for World Peace at Barpeta in Assam through video conferencing. Says India is marching towards the path of development with the motto of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India's financial markets are well regulated. Reserve Bank of India says country's banking sector is resilient and stable. Indian Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat addresses G20 Employment Working Group meeting in Jodhpur, says India has a vital role to play in shaping future of employment and in driving inclusive growth. Quad Senior Cyber Group of Australia, India, Japan and US reaffirm commitment to advance a free and open Indo-Pacific. IMF rejects Pakistan's circular debt management plan for a potential bailout in $7 billion loan program. And in football, India beat Bhutan 12-0 in their opening match of SAFF U20 Women's Championship in Dhaka. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the works of Krishna Guru inspired us all to work with devotion for the betterment of the country. He said that the country is marching towards the path of development with the motto of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas. Participating in the Krishna Guru Ek Naam Akhand Kirtan for World Peace at Barpeta in Assam via video conferencing, the Prime Minister said that Assam and the Northeast would be hugely benefited with the new declaration made in the recent Union Budget. He hoped that the culture and heritage of Assam would flourish further through the MV Ganga Vilas River cruise.
असमिया संस्कृति और खूबसूरती भी गंगा विलास के जरिए दुनिया तक एक नए तरीके से पहुंचेगी। कृष्ण गुरु सेवाश्रम विभिन्न संस्थाओं के जरिए पारंपरिक शिल्प और कौशल से जुड़े लोगों के कल्याण के लिए भी काम करता है।
Krishna Guru Ek Naam Akhand Kirtan for World Peace is a month-long kirtan being held from 6th of January at Krishna Guru Sevashram. The Krishna Guru Sevashram was established in 1974 at Nasatra village in Barpeta district of Lower Assam. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that India is absolutely well governed, having stable government and a well-regulated financial market. In an interview to a private news channel when asked about the Adani Group draw, Ms. Sitharaman said that one instance is not going to be indicative of how well Indian financial markets have been governed. She said the investor confidence that existed before in the country will continue even now.
India remains as before a absolutely well-governed, stable government and also very well-regulated financial market. Our regulators are normally very stringent about certain governance practices and therefore they shouldn't. One instance, however much talked about globally it may be, I would think is not going to be indicative of how well Indian financial markets are governed.
The Finance Minister said that the Union Budget 2023-24 has covered all sections of the society. She expressed hope that in the next few days, the budget's impact will continue to hold the market size. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, has said that as a regulator and supervisor, it maintains a constant vigil on the banking sector and on individual banks to maintain financial stability. The RBI statement has come amidst media reports expressing concern about the exposures of Indian banks to a business conglomerate. The RBI said, as per its current assessment, the banking sector remains resilient and stable. It added that various parameters relating to capital adequacy, asset quality, liquidity, provision coverage, and profitability are healthy. The RBI further added that banks are also in compliance with the Large Exposure Framework guidelines issued by it. The RBI has a central repository of information on large credits database system used for monitoring purposes where the banks report their exposure of 5 crore rupees and above. The RBI said it remains vigilant and continues to monitor the stability of the Indian banking sector. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on CAPEX allocated whopping 10 lakh crore rupees.
India's union budget for the fiscal year 2023-24 is bold and definitive. In her bid to ensure creation and efficacious use of modern infrastructure, the Union Finance Minister has made greater allocations to capital expenditure than existing allocations. It is initiated to shore up economic activities. The added gain is the generation of greater employment opportunities and ramping up capital expenditure (CapEx) to unprecedented levels. In the budget for the fiscal 2024, beginning April 1st this year, tabled in Parliament on February the 1st, the Union Finance Minister Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman launched a directional change in allocating a humongous 10 lakh crore rupees for the next fiscal. To the extent that these capital expenditures relate to non-defence expenditures, especially for construction and other crucial infrastructure sectors, these would pan out relatively high output and employment gains. Thus, the government has continued its focus on capital expenditure for 2023-24 to aid economic recovery at a time when private investment are yet to show clear signs of revival. The government capital expenditure for FY24 pegged at 10 lakh crore rupees forms about 3.3% of the GDP, Finance Minister Sitharaman said in her Budget 2023 speech. This is higher than the capex allocation of 7.5 lakh crore rupees as per the budget for FY 2022-23. This substantial increase in recent years is central to the government's efforts to enhance growth potential and job creation, crowd in private investments and provide a cushion against global headwinds. Ms. Sitharaman said the effective capital expenditure of the centre is budgeted at 13.7 lakh crore rupees, which will be 4.5% of GDP, the minister said. According to details provided in the budget documents, railway expenditure through budgetary support is estimated at 2.4 lakh crore rupees in FY 2023-24. It is 51% higher than the FY23 revised estimates of 1.59 lakh crore rupees. This highest ever outlay is about 9 times the outlay made in 2013-14, Finance Minister observed. While budgetary capex has increased, public sector capex, which includes spending by government-owned enterprises, needs to see higher growth, especially in the absence of a rise in major private capex, experts observe. Defence, railways and roads are expected to be the primary routes for budgetary capex increase, experts say. Total spending on public infrastructure projects, logistics, technology, infrastructure or public utilities will only grow in the next 2 to 3 years, economists have observed. Experts think several large public projects are likely to be announced and started. Funds are also expected to be redirected from programs such as last year's vaccination drive towards capital spending, perhaps targeting the healthcare sector, along with continuing support to production-linked incentives, Bajoria had said. Apart from budgeted capex, resources of public enterprises will likely continue to be used to fund capital projects similar to the past few years, though this funding channel is being steadily decreased. For financing the infrastructure needs, the budget outlines ways and means to step up public investments to be effectively complemented by private capital on a significant scale for the efficient and efficacious use of the sparse capital resources. It is a welcome move that the budget moots measures to enhance financial viability of projects, including public-private partnerships with technical and knowledge inputs from multilateral agencies. It proposes to enhance financial viability of mega infra projects by adopting global best practices, innovative ways of financing and balanced risk allocation. The domestic bourses and foreign investors have hailed this bold move. In all, the emphatic importance on increased capex on infrastructure in the budget is sure to crowd in private investment to push the economy on the virtuous path to sustainable long-term growth, besides fostering immense job opportunities for stoking demand and consumption across the real sectors, analysts opine.
Both the houses of Indian Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, have adjourned for the day. Protests by opposition parties over the Hindenburg's research report on Adani Group and other issues continue to disrupt the proceedings in both houses of the Parliament for the second consecutive day on Friday. The Government of India has clarified that it has nothing to do with the issue related to Adani Group. Replying to a media query outside Parliament on Friday, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi said the opposition is disrupting the proceedings in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha as it has no other issues to raise. He also rejected the demand of a joint parliamentary committee probe into the matter. The opposition parties disrupted the proceedings in the parliament, demanding JPC probe over US-based research firm Heidelberg's allegations against the Adani Group. India's Minister of Jal Shakti Gajendra Singh Shekhawat called upon members of the international community to strive together to make meaningful progress in creating more opportunities for decent work and inclusive growth of all people. Mr. Shekhawat was addressing the G20 Employment Working Group in Jodhpur on Friday. Mr. Shekhawat said India believes that it has a vital role to play in shaping the future of employment and in driving inclusive growth. Addressing the press conference after the meeting, Mr. Shekhawat said that in the changed global scenario after COVID, India has got an opportunity to chair the G20. He said that the scenario of employment has changed rapidly due to the increasing use of technology in every sector. The first Sustainable Financial Working Group SFWG meeting was attended in person by 95 delegates from G20 member countries, 10 invitee countries and 14 international organizations like IMF, World Bank, UNDP, among others. Many other international organizations joined the meeting virtually. Addressing media persons after the conclusion of the 2-day-long first SFWG meeting, Solomon Arogyaraj, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Finance, said this G20 SFWG in Guwahati discussed 3 priority areas. These areas are mechanisms for mobilization of timely and adequate resources for climate finance, enabling finance for the Sustainable Development Goals, and capacity building of the ecosystem for financing towards sustainable development. The first meeting of the Youth 20 Engagement Group under India's G20 presidency will be held in Guwahati, Assam from 6th to 8th of February. Talking to reporters in New Delhi, Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said the Youth 20 Engagement Group will organize discussion pan-India to consult the youth of the nation on ideas for a better tomorrow. He said over 200 G20 meetings will be held across the country. Mr. Thakur said during the Youth 20 Inception meeting, the discussion will be held on 5 areas including future of work, climate change and health. The first Tourism Working Group TWG meeting will be held at Dhodo in Rann of Kutch in Gujarat from 7th to 9th of February as part of the G20. Union Ministers G. Kishan Reddy, Parshottam Rupala and Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel will attend the inaugural session of the meeting on the 8th of February. Briefing the media in Gandhinagar on Friday, Principal Secretary of Economic Affairs of the Government of Gujarat, Mona Khandar, said this secretary-level meeting will focus on 5 priority areas including green tourism, digitalization, skills, tourism, MSME and destination management. The meeting will be attended by officials from G20 countries, invited countries and representatives of various international organizations such as ADB and UNDP. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The Quad Senior Cyber Group of Australia, India, Japan and the United States have reaffirmed their commitment to advance a free and open Indo-Pacific which is inclusive and resilient. The group has met on 30th and 31st of last month in New Delhi to advance the positive agenda with Quad partners on securing cyberspace and international digital economy, including regional partners in the Indo-Pacific. The group also asked its regional partners to adopt best practices and strengthen security of their products and preventive measures to guard against malicious cyber attacks. It advised to conduct a Quad Cyber Challenge, which is a campaign to raise awareness to improve cybersecurity within the member countries. In a statement, the White House has said the group also discussed the importance of utilizing trusted vendors in telecommunications infrastructure as part of shared commitment to promote safe, resilient networks and technologies among the partner countries. The International Monetary Fund IMF has rejected Pakistan government's circular debt management plan. During talks on a potential bailout, it asked the Pakistani authorities to raise the electricity tariff to restrict the losses of the cash-bleeding power sector. The IMF delegation, headed by Nathan Porter, is in Islamabad for discussing the 9th review of a $7 billion loan program. Meanwhile, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said the IMF was giving Islamabad a tough time on the bailout. Pakistan's forex reserves have dropped to critically low levels, which can cover merely 18 days of imports. Inflation has risen to a 48-year high in Pakistan, and citizens are struggling to afford basic food items and amenities. China on Friday called on the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to consider the urgency facing Sri Lanka and offer debt support as soon as possible to relieve the liquidity strain facing the island nation. Responding to U.S. criticism that China has not provided credible assurances to Sri Lanka, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said that Export-Import Bank of China has already provided Sri Lanka with a letter to express support for its debt sustainability. However, she refused to comment if IMF has confirmed Chinese assurances to Sri Lanka as credible and sufficient. According to media reports, IMF has not yet provided any hint on where it stands regarding China's assurances to Sri Lanka. United States, the largest IMF member, on Wednesday criticized China for not offering enough support and assurances to Sri Lanka. Addressing reporters in Colombo, U.S. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland said, "What China has offered so far is not enough." According to media reports, the IMF needs more assurances from China to secure IMF board approval for the $2.9 billion bailout package for Sri Lanka. Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan will participate in Sri Lanka's 75th Independence Day celebrations. The main ceremony of the National Independence Day celebrations will be held on Saturday at 8:30 a.m. at Galleyface Green in Colombo. During the visit, Mr. Muralidharan will also have separate bilateral interactions with President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Ali Sabri on matters of mutual interest. He will also have an interactive session with prominent members of the Indian diaspora. Sri Lanka has identified sites linked to Ramayana which will be used to promote tourism targeting India. An official from Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion, Jeevana Fernando, told agencies that 50 sites linked to Ramayana have been identified to promote tourism in the island from India. He added that the island nation is diverse and has many locations which could attract the pilgrims in India and also from the other Buddhist countries. He said that during the last few years, Sri Lanka held several promotions in India for Ramayana tourism. Mr. Fernando added that most of the Indians visit Sri Lanka for leisure travel and visit at least one Ramayana site in Sri Lanka. In 2022, Sri Lanka welcomed close to 7.2 lakh tourists. India was the top generating market with 1.23 lakh visitors visiting the island. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar has appealed to all the members of the Parliament to work in accordance with rules. He was making this observation in the Rajya Sabha on Friday in view of the frequent disturbance taking place in the House.
Parliament is the essence of democracy. Parliament is the North Star of democracy. It is a place of discussion and deliberation to realize the aspirations and dreams of the people and not a place of disturbance. We are required to work in accordance with rules.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emerged as the world's most popular leader with an approval rating of 78%. This was revealed in a global leader approval ratings released by a US-based consulting firm, Morning Consult. Prime Minister Modi has left behind world leaders in terms of popularity as per the latest rating. These leaders include US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron, and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. 4 Indian-American lawmakers, Raj Krishnamurthy, Pramila Jayapal, Amy Bera, and Ro Khanna, have been appointed as members of the key U.S. House committees, reflecting the growing influence of the community in American politics. Congressman Krishnamurthy was appointed on Wednesday to serve as ranking member on the House Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Another Indian-American congressman, Khanna, has also been made a member of this new committee, formed in the 118th Congress by Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy for the specific purpose of investigating and developing policy to address the United States economic, technological, and security competition with the CCP. Indian-American U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal has been named ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee's Subcommittee on Immigration Integrity, Security and Enforcement, making her the first immigrant to serve in a leadership role for the subcommittee. The Subcommittee on Immigration, Integrity, Security and Enforcement will be chaired by Tom McClintock and has jurisdiction over immigration law and policy, naturalization, border security, refugee admissions, non-border immigration enforcement and other various issues. While Indian-American Congressman Ami Bera was appointed as a member of the influential U.S. House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for the 118th Congress. Austria's government said that it had ordered 4 Russian diplomats based in Vienna, including 2 at Moscow's mission to UN agencies in the city, to leave the country. In a statement, the Federal Ministry for European and International Affairs of the Republic of Austria announced its decision to revoke the diplomatic status of 4 Russian diplomats in Vienna. It said 2 diplomats of the Russian embassy have engaged in acts incompatible with their diplomatic status. The statement further informed that 2 diplomats of the Russian permanent mission to the United Nations have committed acts incompatible with the headquarters agreement and will also have to leave the territory of the Republic of Austria within 1 week. The U.S. is tracking a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon that has been spotted flying over sensitive sites in recent days. Defense officials said they were confident the high-altitude surveillance balloon belonged to China. It was most recently seen above the western state of Montana. But military leaders decided against shooting it down as there were concerns over the danger of falling debris. China has not yet commented. U.S. President Joe Biden has been briefed on the situation. The object flew over Alaska's Aleutian Islands and through Canada before appearing over the city of Billings in Montana on Wednesday, officials said. A senior defense official speaking on condition of anonymity said the government prepared fighter jets, including F-22s, in case the White House ordered officials to shoot down the object. Top military leaders, including Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and General Mark Milley, chairman of the U.S. Joint Chief of Staff, met on Wednesday to assess the threat. After being flagged off from Varanasi by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on January the 13th, the river cruise Ganga Vilas has entered Bangladesh on its 3,200-kilometer long journey from Varanasi to Dibrugarh. The longest river cruise of the world, Ganga Vilas, which will pass through 27 river systems in India and Bangladesh during its 50-day-long journey, anchored at Antihara on Friday afternoon. After completion of the immigration customs formalities, the cruise members will stay overnight at Antihara and sail for Mongla port on Saturday morning, where they will be received by High Commissioner of India in Bangladesh, Pranay Verma, in the afternoon. A number of other dignitaries from Bangladesh, including the State Shipping Minister, Khalid Mohammed, are also expected to welcome the cruise members on arrival at Mongla. In Jammu and Kashmir, the government has announced a pioneering project envisaging total transformation in the landscape of medicinal and aromatic plants cultivation in the Indian Union Territory. Our Jammu correspondent reports that the 62 crore rupee 5-year project aims at cultivating maps on 5,000 canal of land spread across 28 clusters with the potential of creating over 3,000 jobs and 28 enterprises. And now a report from the business world.
The Sensex climbed 910 points to finish at 60,842. The Nifty 50 also rose 244 points to finish at 17,854. Among the global stock markets, Asian shares ended mixed. Singapore's Straits Times Index appreciated 0.6%. South Korea's Kospi rose 0.5% and Japan's Nikkei 225 added 0.4%. On the other hand, Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 1.4% and China's Shanghai Composite Index declined 0.7%. Oil prices were steady today but were on track for a second week of losses as the market awaited further signs of fuel demand recovery in China and a price cap on Russian oil products. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $81.93 per barrel. Back home at the multi-commodity exchange, gold futures for February were trading at 57,668 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures for March were trading at 70,080 rupees per kilogram. Gaurang Dhawanlal for World News, All India Radio.
Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur will attend the function to launch the mascot, theme song and jersey for the third edition of Khelo India Winter Games in Jammu on Saturday. The Winter Games are scheduled to be held from 10th to 14th of this month. In football, India thrashed Bhutan by 12 goals to nil in their opening match of the South Asian Football Federation SAFF Under-20 Women's Championship in Dhaka on Friday. Hosts Bangladesh and Nepal are the other teams in the tournament. All the matches will be played at the Bir Shrestha Shaheed Shipahi Mustafa Kamal Stadium, Dhaka. After a 4-team round-robin, the top 2 teams will play the final on 9th of February. India will face Bangladesh on 5th of February and Nepal on the 7th. India's Chemicals and Fertilizers Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya said that perception shift towards wealth creators has led to a favourable ecosystem for new businesses and a rising economy in the country. Attending the CEO conclave at Plast India 2023 in the national capital on Friday, the minister said that India does not only provide robust technical expertise but also holds its value while doing commerce and prioritize benefit for all rather than a few. He also lauded the conclave as a step to encourage all the stakeholders to understand India's ethos and invest in its growth story. And now a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Washington Post writes Chinese spy balloon flying over US right now, says Pentagon. The Globe and Mail writes Ottawa vows to curb Canadian university research with Chinese military scientists. The Straits Times reports ASEAN's first meeting in Indonesia focuses on open, in-depth, frank talks on Myanmar. The Financial Times writes the US unexpectedly adds 517,000 jobs in January. South China Morning Post says Hong Kong to end travel curbs at mainland China border on Monday. The Japan Times reports Japan and China agree to hold talks at all levels to improve ties. And Sydney Morning Herald writes Australia becomes the first country to recognize psychedelics as medicines. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participates in Krishna Guru Eknam Akhand Kirtan for World Peace at Barpeta in Assam through video conferencing, says India is marching towards the path of development with the motto of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India's financial markets are well regulated. Reserve Bank of India says country's banking sector is resilient and stable. Indian Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat addresses G20 Employment Working Group meeting in Jodhpur, says India has a vital role to play in shaping future of employment and in driving inclusive growth. Quad Senior Cyber Group of Australia, India, Japan and US reaffirm commitment to advance a free and open Indo-Pacific. IMF rejects Pakistan's circular debt management plan for a potential bailout in $7 billion loan program. And in football, India beat Bhutan 12-0 in their opening match of SAFF U20 Women's Championship in Dhaka. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnava Jan, by artists from Bhutan.
Vaishnava Jan ko peene kahiye je, peer paraye jaane re, par dukhe upkar kare to ye man abhiman na aane re, shakal lok maan sahone bande, ninda na kare keni re, paach kaach nischal raakhe, dan dan janani teni re, Vaishnav jan ko peene kahiye je.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.